Hi there. In this video, we're going to configure the FMC and FTD, and we're going to perform the same tasks like we did on ASA on iOS router. And so we're going to start with the initialization and registration process. Although I don't believe this is going to be required during the CCIE exam, but if you're setting up your lab and might be useful for troubleshooting as well. So the initialization process, it takes a lot of time, depending on your hardware and or software. So in my case, I'll be using EvenG, and I'll be using this one. I'll be using the 6.3.0 version. I believe the version required for the exam is below this one. I believe it's 6.2. But I had some issues running the 6.2 image in the past, so I'm just going to use 6.3 for these routers. Now, FMC, when it comes about managing FMC and FTD, so FMC is like the management unit that is used to manage FTD. So we might have multiple FTDs that can be managed locally or can be managed using FMC. So we're just going to deploy FMC and FTD, but we won't be managing FTD locally. We'll be using FMC. Part of the initialization process consists on building the database. So this process might last for around 30 minutes. And then it's going to perform some additional tasks. During the initialization process, you really have to be patient and wait until this process finish. Now that the initialization process is over, let's log into FMC and begin the configuration. And the default credential should be admin, and password should be capital A, admin123. And so now let's configure the management IP address. So we have to do this using configure network. And we have to be the root to do this. And yes, I want to configure, and I'm going to change IP address to a different network. 12, same as, and the gateway to be probably 2. Are the settings correct? Yes, they are. No, I don't want to configure PV6. Configure, and it is done. And now take a look at FTD. Password should be the same. So we have to accept license agreement. Yes. And we have to set a new password. And now we have to set up the management IP address. So configure, I don't want to configure PV6, and we're going to use manual, and I'm going to 192.168.43, and I believe I use 112. Yes. Just going to use 113. The mask /24. 33. 130. Default gateway 19. And full qualifies FTD1 protect.com. For DNS, going to keep default, and now it's going to do its thing. It's going to process. So now we can actually log into FMC by using the address yes 2 8, and that should 43 12. Once accept the risk and continue, and type the same password and FTD. So while FMC is loading, so here we want to say no, we don't want to manage the device locally. We'll be using FMC for that, and we have to set the new password as well. And we're going to change host name, and as I'll say FMC, and domain be the domain currently using. You're required to type the IP address, so I'm just saying going to be 2 time settings. I'm going to leave this default for NTP, and just going to change my time zone, although this is not required. I'm just saying Europe. Dublin. Yes. Save and done, and we're going to leave everything default and just accept and apply. So on FTD, we want to use it on routed mode. At least for this one, we'll be using routed mode, and later on we'll be using transparent. As we are going to manage this device using FMC, we have to configure this. So we can see here the command, and it is configure manager add, and it's going to be FMC IP address, and I'm going to use the management for this one, 43.112, and then we're going to use registration key for this. Okay, we can confirm that it is configured FMC, and see there the IP address, and the registration status is pending. So now let's continue the configuration on FMC. So FMC is back, and so now what we have to do is to enable evaluation modes. We go to license, smart license, and we're going to enable evaluation modes. This means that we can use the features for, I believe, 90 days. So now let's add FTD to be managed by FMC. So we go to devices, and going to add the device, and can type the IP address. It's going to be 43 113, and display names going to be FTD1. Registration key is the one that we use. So CCIE 65745 groups going to leave none. Now we're going to create a new policy, and that's going to be FTD1 policy, and the base policy will be none. And by default, we want to block all traffic. We're going to save this. And now smart license, we're going to enable these features as well, malware threat, as we're going to use later on. So once the discovery process is finished, that's the status we should see, and let's confirm on FTD, and it's completed as well. So let's perform some basic operations. For instance, the interface, and what I want to do is to enable the outbound and inbound interface. And in the next video, we're going to start the configuration for basic operations. So right now, let's just enable the interface. And this is going to be my E00 is going to be my outside interface. I'm going to enable this, and security zone, I'm going to create a new security zone, just name it out. And now we have to assign an IP address. It's going to be statically, so I believe that should be 192.1 FTD1. Just make it 27/24, and that should be enough. So for inbound interface, I'm going to use G01. It's going to be inside. It's going to be enabled. Security zone is going to be in. Press OK, and we're going to assign the IP address, and this is the one facing R6. So this is going to be 10.6.27.27/24, and that should do it. And we have resave the configuration. Yep. Yes, and now I can save these, and those changes, they are being made on FMC, and now we have to deploy on FTD. So this is what is going to be deployed. So it's going to take a while, and let me bring R6. And won't take long, and the deployment still in process. And we can actually also take a look at the configuration by using the ASA-like shell, and to use systems, support, and diagnostic. So interface, and so we can see that the address, the interface IP address haven't changed yet. Same time, I'm going to configure R6. Loading. Okay, so name it 10.27.6.5, and launch that. Oh, not yet. We are and we can see now the interface has already changed. So this means that I should be able to ping 10 6 27 6, okay, and 27. So am I using the right interface now? That's all too. So let me clear 01 02 IP address 6 7 and ping 10 6 27 27. Yeah, parking, and bring R1 as well. And actually, while we are here and it's loading, we configure OSPF as well. So I have to enable these internally, and it's going to be internal router, and going to use area 0. It's going to be a normal area, and we're going to enable on network. So we have to create the object, and in this case it's going to be 10 6 27 24, and it's going to be a network 10 6 27 0 24. And I'm going to save this one and I'm going to update. So this is the network that I want to use, and press OK. And this is going to be enabled on my inside interface, and I believe that's it. Nothing else. Yes. Okay, so that's okay. I can save this, and I have to deploy. Let's change it. Now back to R1. R6. So I'm going to disable this, and at the interface level, enable SPF as well. I'm going to advertise loop back on R6, and same time on R1. Check the interface. That's 0 0. Okay. It's going to be E00. If I use 10 1 27 1 5 10 1 27 7. It's 192. Okay, my bad. 192 127. Yes, working. So FTD is able to reach R1 and R6, and now it should establish OSPF adjacency with R6, and you can see it is up. So that's it, guys. So we were able to initialize and perform the registration process between FTD and FMC, and basic configuration for routing between FTD and R1 and R6. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.